Welcome back to Autism Live. We have been doing something for the last couple of months that we are calling Autism in the Classroom. It's where we're giving tips and tricks for ways that teachers and parents can work together or work separately to create a more successful environment for our kids to prosper and, make that progress in schools. We started at the beginning of the summer talking about the 5 tips to prevent summer slide. Let me just take a second to say that summer slide it's a teacher phrase that we use for what happens when kids aren't stimulated over the summer, that they lose skills. And I'm talking about neurotypical kids here, that this is a typical thing. And this is so common in today's world that frequently schools take the first 8 to 10 weeks of back to school to recap what they did in the last year to get kids' minds prepared for the new school year. 8 to 10 weeks of the curriculum taken up for this. Well, the sort of silver lining in this horrible, to me as a former teacher, this horrible, horrible dilemma is that for our kids on the autism spectrum who are behind to begin with, if the neurotypical kids aren't progressing over the summer, it gives our kids a chance to catch up. But for all kids, I think it's better to have them progress, right? And so we came up with the 5 tips for summer slide, and we're down to the 5th one, and it's sort of horrible that it's taken us most of the summer to get to the 5th one because it's something that we should have been doing the whole summer. But it's not too late now. In fact, there's some benefits to doing it now. So the 5th thing is splash. Water is an important thing for our kiddos who are on the autism spectrum. I think it's important for everyone to be able to get into the water. We know that there is something sensory-wise that it puts pressure on the skin that isn't harmful, but it feels good for our kiddos that are on the autism spectrum. It can help to cool their core because it's a very hot summer pretty much everywhere around the world. And that there are things that you do in a swimming pool that are physically challenging, that help to build muscles, and often they cross the body, or they can, and we know that that's really good for our kiddos that are on the autism spectrum. So we wholeheartedly, and this is another one of these things that it doesn't matter ability and it doesn't matter age, you're just going to fit it to what the child's skills are and help them to progress. So even very small children, we want to be able to take them into the pool, of course, until they have swimming skills. We have to be very mindful and watchful and protective to make sure that they are safe. All of our swimming experts say that they do not like the little arm floaties, and they don't like the swimsuits that are floatable, that they would prefer that the kids learn swimming techniques. I don't disagree with them because I am not a swimming expert. In fact, part of my problem is that I can swim, but only just enough to keep myself alive and not keep another human being alive. So for me, I always found that hard because if I was going to take my kid in the pool, I wanted to know that we both had some buoyancy to make sure that we were going to be okay. And the swimming experts say if you don't know how to swim, it's important that you become a better swimmer. I'm working on it. But if you're working on it too, let's be gentle with ourselves and not keep our kids out of the pool. Let's just make sure that they're as safe as possible. And if you only have enough money, which was my case, for one of you to take swimming lessons, I say give it to your child. But I do think it's important to get special needs swimming classes for our kids as early as you possibly can. A lot of places, if you will ask, will offer to you at a discounted price. I know in my community, they're half price, the swimming lessons for kiddos who have special needs, which is a great, great service to the community. Take advantage of it. But build in time when kids can playfully be doing their swimming lessons. Make sure that they know how to float so that when they're tired, that they can float and just kick a little to get to the side. Make sure that that skill is given to a child. If you have a pool, make sure that you are making it safe so that if they get into the pool by themselves, that alarms will go off that will wake the dead, because we know that the #1 cause of death for our children that are under the age of 15 on the autism spectrum is drowning. So we want to get them in the pool, but we want to give them skills, and we got to have protective things as well, like alarms, to make sure that they can't get in there without us knowing it, right? We just had a terrible incident with twins who drowned in a pool. Please Do not anyone take a risk. Make sure that you have alarms that will go off when there's this slight, I realize it's uncomfortable because if a pool comes along, the alarm goes off. I would rather be woken up in the middle of the night 32 times by a dead leaf falling into the pool than having something horrible happen, right? But again, make it, make them have fun in the pool, have toys in the pool. That sometimes that's all the incentive that you need to have, is that the red ball is a little bit further away in the pool and they have to swim over to get it. Encourage them to come up with games that they make up themselves, to socialize in the pool, because it's all part of the fun. Splashing and having this time in the summer is it's good for them. They're going to get vitamin D while they're out in the sunshine. They're going to get some of that muscle tone that they need to have that will help them to be able to sit up in their classrooms later on and be able to write. It helps to give them self-esteem. And we know that if they're doing anything that crosses the midline, so if the ball is thrown over here and you say to them, reach for it with this hand, that's across the midline. That builds cognitive abilities. So have fun with it, enjoy it, and maybe it's a little bit of downtime for you where you're not having to run, scurry, but keep your eyes on them. And get the swimming lessons so that it's not always about you giving the skills. And there are even scholarships for swimming lessons. Many charities offer scholarships for those, not the least of which is Autism Speaks. Splash, it's a really good thing.